My guest is Champ
Mhm.
Bailey, Pro Football Hall of Famer, class of 2019. He's also in the College Football Hall of Fame as of 2022. He's one of the greatest quarterbacks to ever play. He starred at the University of Georgia and then in the NFL with the Washington Redskins and the Denver Broncos. 12-time Pro Bowler, the most ever for a cornerback. Multiple time finalist for the Walter Payton Man of the Year Award for his terrific work in the community. Champ is joining me today on behalf of Positive Athlete. You can learn more about them at positiveathlete.org. Champ, thanks so much for joining me on Sports Business Radio. How are you?
I am great. How are you?
Good. Longtime admirer of your career. I just like how you conduct your business on and off the field. So I'm happy to talk to you today.
I appreciate it, man.
Let's start with your work with Positive Athlete. How did you get involved with them? And tell our listeners a little bit about their mission and what they do.
Well, it's a recognition platform. So technically we recognize athletes that are sort of in that 99% of guys that won't go on to the pros or won't go on to college and play, advance their career beyond high school. So, we recognize them based off their character. So they could be great in the community or just positive in general. So the idea is to accumulate a bunch of these kids through a nomination process in order to enhance their leadership skills and just make them become better at what they do anyway. A lot of these kids, they do great work, whether they overcome some illness or they do some great work in the community, and it needs to be highlighted. I often think about, all the guys that I played high school ball with and all the people that, I played in college with that were walk-ons, right? A lot of times the writing's on the wall very early for a lot of these people, whether they're going to go to the next level, continuing that sport or the several sports that they may play in high school. Well, what ends up happening is you know you have all these skills that you've developed, but what you don't have is the resources to take yourself to the next level. So that's sort of what positive athlete is really putting together here and has put together, is just the opportunity for these student athletes to connect with like-minded individuals, to really get the tools and resources that they need to go beyond high school, and whether they want to go to college or they want to jump right into the workforce. So it's very, I guess, character enhancing on our part to give them these tools. But at the same time, there's companies that are dealing with workforce issues and recruitment. Where do they find the high character kids? Where do they find kids that are going to come in with team oriented experience and things like that that they value so much? And I think that's what positive athlete can enable for both the employers and the potential employees, which are these student athletes.
You bring up two great points. One,
Mhm.
I mean, I've been around sports my whole life, and there are so many parents that think, well, my kid's the one that's going to make it to the NFL or the NBA or Major League Baseball. And it is so few people like yourself who actually even make it to the league. So if you don't make it, what are you going to do? And then the other problem it sounds like you're solving is a lot of companies today, they're looking for the pipeline of good,
Right.
dependable, trustworthy workers. And how do they find these workers from a dependable source? And it sounds like Positive Athlete is solving kind of both of these problems.
No doubt. No doubt. So think about it from an employer standpoint. And I have a good example for you. So I was on this workforce study committee with the state senate here in Georgia. So very local to this state. We went around, we had 6 or 7 big meetings with corporations in the state. And the common theme was we can't recruit good talent, we can't retain good talent.
Mm.
So we know that it's an ongoing issue and has been. And what's changed now is the mindset of what it means to go beyond high school. They're not promoting the 4-year route anymore. It's more, how do we get these kids into the workforce as quickly as possible? So this is a good way, but how do you identify who's ready? And that's where positive athlete steps in. It's a common theme around the country as well as I learn more and more about these workforce issues. So for an employer, man, it just makes sense. Well, we got kids that are high character, team oriented, already involved in their community, and they're highlighted within this positive athlete family. I mean, the sky's the limit with the talent that they can reach and the people that they can groom to become part of their companies. So I love this work. This is work that I was doing before. And then all of a sudden I was introduced to positive athlete. It just made sense for me to partner.
I mean, I've had so many athletes on this show, and they all tell me that the business skills that they've learned from playing team sports translate so well, whether it's leadership or
There is no doubt.
punctuality or, whatever it is. So it sounds like, again, this is another way to bring that to the workforce. You're finding athletes who have those skills that can translate to the business world.
Yeah, and that's what I tell people all the time about what sports has taught me. It's how to work with the team, how to
Mhm.
be accountable. You know, you do things with integrity. If I'm gonna show up, I'm gonna show up on time. I'm gonna be ready to do my job. I know my role. Those are things that companies try to inquire talent and then teach as they go. Well, you won't have to do that with a kid coming through our pipeline. So that kind of cuts that part out for them, and they're able to identify people who are workforce ready.
So anyone from any sport can be nominated. It doesn't have to just be football, right?
Right, right. All sports, all genders, it doesn't matter. I think that's the thing. A lot of platforms, they typically focus on or they typically focus on the athletes or the good athletes, the ones that are excelling, the best football player, the best basketball. And a lot of the things that I've done in the past typically focuses on one sport.
Mhm.
That's what I love about this. It's all encompassing. You get a wide range of talent, diverse, well prepared, ready to work. And I think that's the beauty of it is you're not stuck with one lane. It's so many different lanes you can go down when you come through this platform.
So I know you can go to positiveathlete.org to
Right.
nominate someone. I know
Yeah.
your email address is champbailey@positiveathlete.org if someone wants to reach out to you directly. And then I hear in the fall, you guys are going to be launching an app, which will probably make it
Right.
even easier to nominate someone, I would imagine.
Yes, yes. The app is really for these kids to it, really increase their personal profile and their professional profile. So it's easier to engage with companies, right? Because it's a centralized location where they don't have to worry about where they so just think of it like LinkedIn, right?
Hmm.
It's going to be their profile to really show these companies what they're doing outside of sports, and it enhances your opportunities. I often, every time I read about the things we offer, I'm like, dang, I wish I had this when I was in school. Because when I listen to other players that had a little access to more resources, those are the things I often miss. It's not the good coaching. It's just, dang, I wish I knew this about business. I wish I knew that. I wish I knew what this company did. And it was such a learning process for me going around the state and having and rubbing elbows with these different industries and these different companies and seeing what they're looking for. I'm like, these are all the things I learned about. And when you think about what it means to be an athlete, you have to be all these different things, a great leader, listener, follower, role player. Like you have to learn all these things. Well, sports taught me all that.
Hmm.
But then how do I turn that into an opportunity? And that's where we come
That's great. I love the work that you're doing.
in.
Let's go back to when you were younger. At what point did the light kind of go on for you where you're like, I think I can play in the NFL. I think I want to. You played both sides of the ball. You played special teams. You did everything. I want to be a cornerback instead of, maybe on the offensive side of the ball. And then, hey, there's some business opportunities here and community opportunities. sometimes guys don't see that till the end of the career. When did you start learning about that stuff and seeing those opportunities?
I have to be honest. It wasn't till I retired that I really focused on business.
Mm,
Like there were things in front of me that would come about, but I didn't have the skills to really assess what was in front of me most of the time, any deal. So I was relying on experts, and a lot of times those people weren't experts, you know,
yeah.
and it ended up costing me. But I think for me, the best thing I did while I was playing was build my network. And typically that happens by default. It wasn't like I was intentional about it. And throughout my career, what I did well was leave a good impression when people met me. And what ends up happening is the opportunity comes up down the road. I don't have to worry about somebody miles away from me talking bad about me. So that was that's what football provided for me, and I was fortunate enough to play long enough to where those handshakes and those kissing of the babies were in abundance for me. So that creates opportunities now for me. Now it's just, learning and really paying attention to these opportunities, which I have time for now, and taking advantage of the opportunities in front of me. That's why, you know, when I really read about what positive athlete was and I understood what it was going to provide, that's why I'm like, it's a no-brainer
Mhm.
because most of these kids at some point in their lives think they might go beyond and play at the next level. Well, we all know that's not a reality. So having these resources is just it's just part of the things that we should be doing as a society to provide for these kids that want to go to the next level. Either way, they got to become a good pro, whether it's a pro sports player or a professional business person or just somebody who is an executive in a company. You have to learn how to be a professional. So, getting these resources to them early and often is imperative.
It's great. I want to go back to something you just said. How did you learn who you could trust?
Time, you know, one thing I value more than anything is a recommendation. And because when somebody recommends something to me, I always have something to go back to give feedback, to report basically what's happened with that relationship. And I like to go back with good news, but it's not always that way. But it does take time. Only time can really reveal what people's intentions are. And a lot of times, man, that's just my thing. I was like, over the course of time, you will learn. The thing is, you don't want to learn the hard way. So I'm keen on leaning on recommendations. And that brings me back to another value of positive athlete is creating this network of like-minded individuals where you can see the good somebody has gotten from a connection over here that can potentially help you over here. So that community is what's going to protect a lot of these potential employers and the opportunities they reach for. It's really that community mindset.
Take me back to the question from a couple minutes ago. Playing cornerback. How did you
Yeah.
zero in on that as your position of strength? And that's the one thing I really want to focus on the football field.
Well, if you know my career, I did battle with trying to do everything.
Mhm.
so,
It's hard when you're
so
so talented in so many areas.
and watch Travis Hunter go through the same thing. So he's gonna have these internal battles of trying to do everything because your youth tells you you're capable of doing everything all the time forever. We all know that's not reality. So for my first 5 to 7 years, I would say I was adamant about playing everything. And what I realized is that doesn't help my business. And what I mean is it doesn't help me become the best corner I could be. Because if I'm doing so much, I can't possibly be the best at something else. I have to focus in, put all my energy into playing cornerback. So eventually that's what happened. I found myself getting muscle tears here and there. The thing about it is I had never missed a game. And then once I started kind of getting injured, reality starts setting in. I start getting more aware of, okay, I got to focus on this. So all those things in combination push me to just focus on corner. And I promise you, that's the reason I played 15 years. It's really because I allowed myself to. I would have probably played 8 to 10 years if I did everything I wanted to do. So fortunate enough for me, I had the best supporting cast, which is great coaches, great leaders, teaching me what I needed to learn. And I just dialed in.
Hmm.
Simple as that.
Yeah, that's really good. And it's a great comparison with Travis Hunter because you're right. If he wants to have a long career playing both sides of the ball and special teams, that's probably not the best for his duration.
No, and he'll figure that out. His career is going to be different from mine and unique to him. I do wish that he gets to try everything he wants to try. I mean, he's just as good at receiver as he is cornerback. He could probably be a great punt returner, kick return. He could do anything. But it's really you want longevity, right? You want to be accountable. You want to be available. All those things matter. So at some point, he'll have his wake up call about what he really needs to focus on. And it may be everything. It may be just a little bit, but we'll see.
Travis Hunter's coach at Colorado was Deion Sanders.
Yeah.
Played with Deion. He's now
Mm.
Coach Prime. What are some of the traits that you saw in Deion when you were in that locker room with him that made you believe this guy is a good leader of men and he's going to be a good coach like he's turned out to be?
I I can't say I saw him being a coach,
Hmm.
but I tell you what always stuck out to me was how hard he worked, physically and mentally. He was always studying, he was always working. And when you see that, then you understand why he's so confident
Hmm.
and why he is the way he is and how he leads by example. That's who he is. It doesn't come out of thin air. It comes through his hard work. So that's one thing I took from him. And he would say it from time to time in private conversations, like, we gotta work. We gotta work. Like, we gotta do this. So it was evident why he was so confident because he put the work in.
Hmm. Interesting. All right. I want to ask you about the NFL playoffs right now. And I'm just interested in how the game has evolved since when you played. We've got these final four quarterbacks: Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts, Jaden Daniels. They have similarities, they have differences. RPO is a bigger part of the game now than it was when you were playing. What makes these quarterbacks today so difficult to defend?
Well, let me tell you, let me start with this. Defensive coaches are the smartest coaches in the room.
Okay.
Because the only way you can beat them is to have a mobile quarterback. That is the only way.
Hmm.
And we can see how the game has evolved to appreciate the mobility of these quarterbacks. Most of the time back in the day, I was a mobile quarterback in high school, but nobody even looked at me as a quarterback
Interesting.
because I was so athletic. I'll go put him at corner. My brother was actually a better quarterback than I was, my older and my younger brother, both my brothers. But nobody wanted to put them at quarterback at the next level. Well, then you get a guy like Mike Vick comes along. You had some mobile quarterbacks in the past, but there was never a level of appreciation for them until they started doing RPOs and these guys started, becoming a primary run threat, in the running game. And that's changed everything because now that's where the Josh Allens come from. Pat Mahomes, who's a little less mobile than he's been in the past, but he still can get out and make you pay, right? I mean, Jalen Hurts, Jaden Daniels, those two guys would have been safety and corner, 20, 30 years ago. But now it's a bigger threat to have them at quarterback as a threat to run. So it's tough. It's tough on defenses, but that's the only way you beat them. You got to have a quarterback that's a threat to run.
Yeah, that's great insight. I look at Jaden Daniels and I'm blown away because he's a rookie and he doesn't
Yeah,
look like a rookie. He doesn't play like a
not
rookie.
even close.
He processes information so quickly. And a lot of times can't, when you're in a rookie year, they say, hey, just manage the offense. Like, don't throw interceptions, don't
Yep.
turn the ball over. We're not going to give you any heavy lifting your rookie year, but they've given him heavy lifting and he's handled it. And they're doing so well this year. And I mean, that's your former team. It's got
Yeah.
to make you happy to see them having this success.
Well, the timing couldn't be better because I sort of reignited that relationship with the team
Mm-hmm.
after 19 years of being away, after new ownership came in. So I'm happy to be here now. And I'm telling you, man, it's not only just processing the information, but to actually physically make the play after processing that information. He is so accurate throwing the ball, which is the scariest part of his game to me because it means big plays. And for a defense, you never want to give up big plays, especially to a guy like this who's going to make you pay in the red zone. So, I mean, the dude is, I haven't found a weakness. And you're right. I saw a stat where the rookie quarterbacks that have made it this far all had top three defenses. Well, he doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
And that tells you the adversity that he's had to overcome throughout the season to win games.
Yeah.
Like the Hail Mary, just the scramble to make that against the Bears. I mean, the comeback win against the Eagles. I mean, just his body of work. I mean, he's got a career year of work and wins and comebacks this year.
Right.
And he's still a rookie. It's unbelievable, man.
So if you were playing defense against these four quarterbacks, I mean, you hear these teams say we're going to spy the quarterback, right? We're going to
Yeah.
assign someone who does nothing more than just figure out where is the quarterback going. Explain that to the common person. What does it mean to spy and what's the risk involved there?
Dude, you can spy, you can do whatever you want. I mean, but when they're accurate,
Yeah.
that means a spy, you're taking a rusher out. You're also taking somebody that's in coverage out of the game. So it's like the only way that person becomes a factor is if the quarterback scrambled, right? But again, if you have a guy like Jaden Daniels who can scramble with the best, but also is as accurate as the best, you have to mix it up. You can't just be one dimensional. That spy needs to turn into an extra blitzer from time to time. You just have to change the game. But you got to that's where the fundamentals really come into play. Don't give up big plays, be great tacklers.
Hmm.
You focus on those two things, mix it
Yeah.
up, that's your best chance. And then pray the rest of the way.
Okay,
It's
so we've
tough.
talked about positive athlete. We've talked about
Mhm.
your career a little bit. People want to know, what else are you doing right now? Are you involved with other businesses? What are you doing in retirement?
Well, since I've retired, you know, I really just had to figure out what I was interested in.
Mm-hmm.
And what I've come to find out 10 years later is I'm interested in a little bit of everything. And, honestly, that's what ties everything back to positive athlete.
Mm-hmm.
I told you about the work I was doing with the local government. That ties directly back to positive athlete. I've invested in several companies and, been ambassador, spokesperson, sit on some boards here and there. That all ties back into positive athlete because we're talking about developing young athletes to become great pros. I've done that. I've been an example of that. At some point, everybody's career is going to end. Mine ended when I was 35. Some of those will end at 18. So but the common theme is you're still young. You still got a lot more years left. So you want to be prepared for the next level. So preparation is everything. So anything I can do to help these people prepare is what I concentrate on more than anything. People often think I'm involved with Georgia just because I went to Georgia. I'm not uh, directly involved, but I understand that mindset because I know I'm a natural mentor and leader to these young men and women that are coming through the same way I did. So, what can I do to help give back to them? Well, develop platforms like Positive Athlete and really engage with them on this level where we help provide opportunities beyond the game. And I couldn't be more proud of where we are now and where we're going. So, that's what I've been up to. And Again, I'm always open to new ideas, new businesses, new opportunities, but there's nothing more important to me than setting an example for the next group of athletes that are trying to become pros in whatever they do.
Well, I tip my hat to you for the great work that you're doing in the community and with Positive Athlete. Again, positiveathlete.org is the website. If you want to drop Champ an email directly, champbailey@positiveathlete.org. The app's coming out this fall, so it'll make it even easier for you to learn about the work Positive Athlete's doing and to nominate the athlete that you think is doing great work and should be helped by the great work that Positive Athlete is doing. Champ, I appreciate you joining me on Sports Business Radio. Like I said, been following your career for a long time, like how you handle your business on and off the field. Continued success. I'm happy to hear that you're kind of reunited with the Commanders under this new ownership. I think there's a bright future for them, and I think those guys in that locker room could learn a lot from you.
Yeah, yeah. If they'll listen, I'm talking. So, I've had some contact with some guys, and I look forward to even making more connections. I mean, it's a great ownership group. You couldn't have a better group, especially when you add Magic Johnson, who's the ultimate winner. Everything he touches turns to gold, it seems like. So it's good to have those examples, those leaders helping pave the way.
It's really remarkable. I mean, I said this on my show last week. It is hard to change the
Mhm.
culture in a locker room and in an
It is.
organization. And what they've done in a year since Harris and Magic Johnson and others have become part of the ownership group, it's remarkable.
It is. And, it's a testament to great leadership. And I think when you have the right leaders, it will rub off on others. It trickles down. I mean, but you have to be purposeful about it. You have to be that way. And these guys have done nothing but the best for everybody, even alumni. I mean, forget me being away 19 years. Darryl Green was away 21 years, 22 years, I believe. No contact with the greatest player in franchise history. And now he's back in the fold, retired his jersey. Those are the examples that people look for how you build the right culture. It's just the beginning.
You got to pay homage to the people that paved the way. So I'm glad to
Oh
see the
yeah.
Commanders doing that with you guys.
Yeah. Current players pay attention to that. You
I
know,
would I
how
would think.
how yeah, how you appreciate and celebrate your alumni. Everybody pays attention to that. Plus, when I'm away from the franchise, don't you want me to talk good about it? I
Especially
mean,
someone well
it's really
respected like
simple.
yourself. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really simple. And I look forward to working with them, introducing Positive Athlete to all
Yep.
my connections throughout the league. So, I mean, the sky's the limit with where we can go either way with this, man. I'm looking forward to the journey.
Champ Bailey, thanks for joining me on Sports Business Radio. I appreciate it. Continued success to you.
My man, I appreciate you. Thanks for the time.
Thank you.